Hello, my name is Han. Today I got a pretty nice round with me going 30 and 11 with the Ace52 in the support kit. But unfortunately my team wasn't great, so we end up losing by about 4 kills in the end. But since you guys all seem to enjoy the story of Fred the Turkey, the last of the OG turkeys, I thought I'd tell the story of when I got to spend 2 weeks in China as a kid. But first I'll give you guys a little backstory as to why I got to go to China. And it all starts out with my grandmother on my mom's side. Now, my grandmother was actually raised in China from the ages of 2 to 18. And that's because my family actually comes from a long line of missionaries over in China. Honestly, I don't really like the idea of missionary work, of just going to some other country and then telling everyone there that, hey, everything you believe is wrong, so come and believe what we believe because we have books. And it's even worse when the missionaries go over and say, hey, we'll provide aid for you guys, but only if you convert everyone in your little village to what we believe. I think if you're going to go over there and give aid to people, that's fine. And you can have it be their choice. Say, hey, if you want to join our religion, that's totally your choice. But don't make them join just so they can get the help. That's just bullshit. But anyway, since my grandmother was raised in China, she has a lot of friends still over there, or she did. She passed away about in 2005. But she used to go back every couple of years to visit with all the friends that she made over in China. And her friends were actually, well, they're still our family friends, but they're related to Chairman Mao, believe it or not. They actually just came out a few months ago, and we went out to the Olive Garden with them. But getting back on track, one year, my grandmother decided to take myself and my parents along with her. And this was during spring break of 1997, so a couple months before my 8th birthday. Birthday. And it was about a 15-hour flight with a layover in Japan overnight. And if you could imagine a 7-year-old having to sit in a plane for 15 hours, yeah, it wasn't great. All I had to entertain me were some knockoff Power Ranger action figures, and I mean they weren't even real Power Rangers for fuck's sake, so it was a terrible flight. And then when we got to Beijing, my first thought was this place is fucking magical. Because we get to our hotel lobby and it just so happens that all of the cotton trees, which were all over the place, were molting, so there was just little pieces of cotton all over the air. I was running around just catching them. And this was inside the lobby of this hotel. There were just little things of cotton floating around everywhere. And I didn't know this, but apparently having blonde hair and being in China means you get treated like a celebrity. Literally everywhere I went, there were just people everywhere just lining up wanting to get their pictures taken with me, which was really weird. And that brings me to the first funny thing that happened there. So I believe this was in the city of Xi'an, which is where the terracotta soldiers are at the tomb of the first emperor. And there was some kind of festival going on. So there were just hundreds of people out on the street. There were stands selling food and souvenirs everywhere. And a family came up to us and they also wanted they wanted their son to get his picture taken with me. And we were like, alright, I'm used to getting my picture taken all the time by now. It's been going on for the last several days. And that kid hadn't seen me yet. He was about maybe a 3 or 4-year-old little Chinese boy. And his parents bring him over to where my parents were and I was, and that's when the kid saw me. And on this little Chinese boy's face, I saw the look of pure terror as he let out a blood-curdling scream and started crying uncontrollably as soon as he saw me. Apparently, I was the first white person this kid had ever seen, and that scared the fuck out of him. Needless to say, they didn't get their picture. But anyway, we got to see the tomb of the first emperor with all the terracotta soldiers, and that was really cool. Now, if you don't know the story of the first emperor, he was the one that unified China from being a whole bunch of warring city-states to being one country. And what he did after he unified China was he decided to put all of the funding into finding a potion that would allow him to live forever. That potion ended up being mostly mercury, so first he went crazy and then it killed him. So remember, kids, drinking your thermometer will not make you live forever. Kind of a funny side note, after we got home from China, my grandma had purchased a cane over there, took it on the plane. It was pre 9/11, all that, so there weren't any security measures. But we got home, I was playing with it, and it turns out that the cane had a sword inside of it, and I ended up finding it. So she was on a 15-hour plane ride with a sword. And she was carrying it. It wasn't even in the luggage or anything. She was holding a sword for 15 hours on a plane. Another thing that happened was we were at the Great Wall where the Great Wall ends at the ocean, and there was this guy. I guess he just kind of like sells things to tourists, but he called us over, and I don't know if this is just a difference in Chinese customs or if this guy was like some kind of scam artist. But he calls me and my dad over, and he's like, "Hey, I don't think he spoke English, but he spoke a little bit of broken English, and he was like, "Hey, you want to look through a telescope?" And he had like one of those telescopes at the edge of the edge of the beach where you can see the Great Wall at the edge. And so we thought, "Oh, this is nice guy. He's letting us look through his telescope." And so I did. And then after everything was done, he charged us for it. Didn't tell us he was charging before. He told us to look through it and then charge us. And then I have some urine-related stories too. We were walking through the Forbidden City. That's where the Emperor's Palace used to be. It was a whole city that it's kind of like the Vatican, but for the Chinese Emperor. It's his own city where he lived and all of his servants lived. It's like a tourist destination landmark now, like historical type thing. So we were in there and just walking around in the courtyard, and all of a sudden this like maybe 5-year-old boy just pulls out his pants and starts peeing on the ground. I mean, that's pretty much it to this story. I just thought that was really weird and funny because I was 7 at the time, and just seeing a kid just go right in front of like 200 people who were in this courtyard, he just pulls down his pants and starts peeing in the middle of the courtyard, like onto like cobblestone. And no one seemed to care, so I guess that's okay over there? I don't know, it's pretty weird coming from a Western standpoint. It's looking like this video, or the commentary is going to run kind of long, so I think I'll just throw in a nice little sniper streak I got in another game after this so I can finish the story. The next thing was at a different part of the Great Wall. We went to some kind of like really beautiful Zen garden type place. It was right by the Great Wall, and I just had to go to the bathroom, so we went over there. I went into the bathroom, and I was immediately very confused because I walked into the bathroom, and there was no toilet, there were no urinals, there was just like a hole in the ground, and I had no idea I didn't think I was in the right place. Like, I just didn't know how to go about peeing. I was just looking at it, and then I just, like, what are you supposed to do exactly? So I ended up just, like, standing over the hole, pointing straight down, and just going like it was a urinal. I probably didn't do it right, but I don't think I spilled it all. Sorry for the imagery there. So that's this game coming to an end. I went 30-11 like I said, but my team wasn't much help, so we ended up losing. Or I guess it's 30-12. Alright, so one last little story. This has to do with the whole being treated like a celebrity thing. We were going out to eat at some pretty fancy Chinese restaurant, and I was a really picky eater back then. I didn't like any Chinese food. I'm still pretty picky, but not as bad. But yeah, we were at this restaurant, and one of the waiters or someone that worked there saw that I wasn't eating anything. And he was like, "Why aren't you eating anything?" And my parents explained, "Oh, he's a really picky eater. He doesn't like this kind of food." And then he's like, "Oh, that's no problem." So I think this guy might have been the manager or something, but he had one of his employees get on a bike in the rain and like bike about 2 miles to a market and pick up some cherries at that market just for me to eat. And yeah, I was a little kid at the time, so, but I still felt like, I felt super guilty about that. I mean, I felt so bad that this guy had to go ride his bike in the rain at about 8 at night just so I could eat something. Because honestly, I wasn't even that hungry. I just felt so terrible for that guy. And then one last thing I wanted to explain was, if you haven't noticed, my gamer tag is Han Ma Shou, and the reason I use Baron von Han as my YouTube name is because my Chinese name is actually Han Ma Shou, or the closest Chinese name to my name, which literally means elegant horse. So I don't know what to say about that, because my first name is Matthew, and Ma Shou is the closest Chinese name to Matthew, and Han is the closest Chinese name to my last name. And then I use Baron von Han on YouTube just kind of to mix it up, because I'm of German heritage, and just kind of showing like my heritage is German, but the Chinese culture is still like a big part of our family. So I hope you enjoyed this little story. Feel free to rate the video, comment, and subscribe. And that's about it. Just want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll be working on some more videos because this is actually pretty fun. Thanks again, guys.